We're talking about a lot of supernatural stuff. Like if we're in a situation where we're talking to a group of people, my brother will give me a look and I'll give him a look and we just both smile. We already know. So we understand. Like, it means awkward or like this is wrecked or like we'll just say in our head, even though we're not saying it, we can just tell what each other are thinking, you know? I mean, since we were young, we had haunting experiences. We had all kinds of stuff. But I think that's where it really started is we had a lot of ghost activity early on. And I woke up and I look over to my brother, and my brother's sitting there, and he's sleeping, fast asleep. And I look to the edge of the bed, and there's a woman sitting on the edge of his bed. She is slightly translucent. She's wearing like an old school pioneer dress. Her face was very like gaunt. She was a very skinny lady, and she was looking at my brother. And I'm sitting there staring at her, and it felt like forever. And then she all of a sudden turns and looks at me. But when she looked at me, I forget to mention this sometimes, her eyes were like a reddish. I can almost see like red in her eyes.
This is Bigfoot Crossroads. My name's Matt. And joining me are the Wonder Twins. Roman and Jaren Daniels of the Supernatural Station podcast. Two guys that I've been waiting to talk to for a long time. And finally, here we are, gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's spooky season. This is Jaren, by the way. Hey, how's it going? It's good to be here. We're really lucky to be here. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, luckily I got you guys on video where I can see you. The listeners obviously won't have that luxury, but I will be able to tell your voices apart through the visual cues. The audience, this should be fun for them.
It's part of the problem, you know. We're talking about a lot of supernatural stuff, and part of that is our voices at this point. So there you go. Good luck, you guys. All love.
How did you guys meet?
In the womb. You know, I was growing with him, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? Nice to meet you." We actually, you know, we're the kind of twins that could have been Siamese. Luckily, we weren't.
Oh wow!
But I guess it's like a rare kind, right? Like where it's like one egg that split into two. I guess. Yeah. So that's kind of scary. But luckily, we split into two. When we were in that one egg together, we were like vibing. You know, we were best buddies, and now we're like, yeah, we need a little space sometimes.
Who was born first?
I was 6 minutes. 6 minutes
oh,
first.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So I give him a lot of crap. I'm like, you know, I'm the big brother, so got to listen to me, you know?
Jaren, you're lucky he didn't eat you.
Well, that's the thing is like I gained all this extra weight, you know, because I was in the womb for 6 minutes longer. So that's when you get like 100% of the protein. So I was like, whoa. And then I came out and I was like, what's up, friend? And he's like, ooh, sick. What's up, man? And I was like 3 times big. No, the thing is I've always been about an inch taller and that's about it. But besides that, yeah, he makes fun of me with the age.
So I know you guys have been asked this a million times. I'm going to ask it anyways. Do you got the psychic twin thing going on?
We have one story. There was one time, for the most part, like, I mean, we can look at each other and like understand kind of like if we're in a situation where we're talking to a group of people, like my brother will give me a look and I'll give him a look and we just both smile. We already know. So we understand. Like, it means awkward or like this is wrecked or like we'll just say in our head, even though we're not saying it, we can just tell what each other are thinking, you know? So that's a common thing. But there was one time that was like the total psychic thing where my brother this was in elementary school and my brother was getting beat up. He was getting bullied by somebody. It was like 3rd grade, 2nd grade, whatever. And my aunt, I believe, was picking us up. And I was freaking out. I was like frantic. I was like, "Where's my brother? He's getting beat up. I can tell he's getting beat up by a bully right now, but we need to go find him. I got to save him, you know?" And my aunt was just like beside herself. She didn't know what to think. So I led her. She parked and I led her all the way to the back of the school, way past where all the recess is and all that. And there's my brother like crying. He's like picking his bags up and stuff and he's all wrecked and everything. And and he's like, "Yeah, I just got beat up by a couple guys or whatever." And so it was a total real thing where I could feel that he was needing help and I knew exactly where to go to find him and everything. So that was weird. And then, I mean, there's other moments too. Like And bless her heart, that's an old like Texas thing to say, but Mel, Roman's wife, she'll be like, she's so good that because I'm a single guy and she's the one that's been putting up with my BS for as long as she's been with Roman. But it's funny because she'll look at me and Roman when we're in like an argument, like we're in an intense like political debate or something. We'll be talking about something and she'll look at me, and all of a sudden I look at Roman, and then she's like, "Stop, you guys! Stop looking at each other!" Like, because it's a bigger problem when we're looking at each other because now we're waved up, you know.
Yeah.
It just seems like she understands that it's funny. So
So when did you guys become interested in all this crazy stuff? What was it like one before the other at the same time? How did that work out?
well, it's been kind of it's been a lifestyle, honestly. Like our whole life growing up, we've had my mom was into tarot cards and stuff back in the day, and she was very like open to, she had a gift. She had a kind of a paranormal gift where she could literally somebody that she knows before they were pregnant, and she would just stop, take back, and say, "You're pregnant," and they didn't even know. And then like 2 weeks later, they were pregnant, and she could even name the gender, all this stuff. So she was 100% on that for years, and she was really good at just those types of things. She's had a lot of paranormal experiences growing up, so intel kind of hit us as we grew up, and she always gave us the opportunity to, I guess, flourish in that, and so we just allowed it. We didn't allow it. I didn't like it growing up, but because I was really scared all the time. But I mean, since we were young, we had haunting experiences. We had all kinds of stuff, and we can get into some of those. But I mean, this is it's like a Halloween vibe right now. It's only a couple of days away, so we're excited to explain some of that. But I think that, yeah. How do you feel about that? Yeah, I mean, honestly, that is where it started. It seems like there's sort of a family line there a little bit, and we were lucky to have a mom like that gave us the opportunity to tell our truth. Like when stuff was happening, she wouldn't make fun of us, or you have those parents that unfortunately will deny what the kids are saying, and it's unfortunate because it's probably happening. I'm not always going to say it is, but it probably is. And so that, especially in our case, when we were younger, I think I had a little bit more of the crazy activity up front, but I feel like now it's kind of reversed. Like my brother kind of gets attacked more. But I think that's where it really started. Is we had a lot of ghost activity early on, and one of the biggest stories I wanted to tell tonight is when we were 8 years old. So this is really where it started. So we were at our dad's place, and we shared a bedroom. We had one of those bunk beds, but they had taken off like one of the bunks and set it like on the side. So it was like these two twin beds basically. And I could see my brother the way the room was positioned. I could see my brother if I sat up in bed. I could see his whole body basically in the room. And I was sleeping one night, and again, you hear this all the time and time again on our show. We hear it all the time from people. But about the 3 a.m. time frame, somewhere around there, you just wake up for no reason at all. I woke up and I look over to my brother. For some reason, I just had to look straight over there. And my brother's sitting there and he's sleeping, fast asleep. And I look to the edge of the bed, and there's a woman sitting on the edge of his bed. And she is slightly translucent. She's wearing like an old school pioneer dress type thing where it's got the collar all the way up the neck. And she's got like that sort of tight waist, almost corset style, and then it kind of puffs up on the bottom of the dress. I could tell the dress was bluish gray in tone, so I could see color. And her face was very like gaunt. She was a very skinny lady. You could see all the features on her face, the pointy cheekbones, pointy nose. And she was looking at my brother, and she had silvery gray hair that was pulled back in a really tight bun, so you could see the bun. Probably really long hair if she let it down. And she was pulling the covers over my brother's feet. Like his feet were exposed, and she was physically moving, manipulating an object, which was the blanket, over his feet. And I was like, oh my gosh. At the time, we had a stepmom, but she wasn't. She was in our dad's bedroom, and this was not my stepmom, right? Totally a different look. And I'm sitting there staring at this woman, and you can tell when you're dreaming versus when you're awake. And it was totally the awake state because I was totally cognizant. I could see all this detail on everything, and it just, dreams, you can kind of tell the difference. And I'm sitting there staring at her, and it felt like forever. And then she all of a sudden turns and looks at me, as if she knew I was staring at her, and I was like freaked out, right? So I jumped back in the bed and I pulled the covers over my head and I started to pray. But when she looked at me, I forget to mention this sometimes, her eyes were like a reddish. I could almost see like red in her eyes, which made me think evil, right? Freaked me out. And so pulled the covers, I started praying, and what was probably seconds but felt like minutes or whatever, I lift them up again, the covers, and she's gone. So that happened. I didn't want to tell my brother. I didn't want to wake him up, and went on with my life. I didn't even tell my dad because he was the type that, again, like I was making fun of those parents that don't give the platform for their kids, or have that openness. He was the type that would be like, maybe because he's scared too, but he would just want to shut it down and say it was a dream or whatever. So I never said anything. This was an old rental house that my dad rented, so he didn't own it. And it had some other activity too, but never full bodied apparitions like that. So I'm gonna go really far forward because it does tie into this story really fast. But we were about 8 at that time, and then
Yeah, this was 1996, so it's dating us there, but yeah, way back.
yeah, and then flash way far forward. So like maybe, I don't know, 2008 or 2009 or something like that. I'm hanging at my dad's place, and this is a different house, by the way, that he'd moved to. And I'm hanging out. We're, hanging out, having some drinks and just chatting late at night. And for some reason, I brought up the ghost thing. I told him about that story. All of a sudden, I had the courage to kind of bring it up to him. And when I brought it up to him, his face went white, like he went white as a ghost. His eyes got huge. His jaw dropped. And he looks at me and he says, "You saw her too?" I was like, "Yeah, I did." And he told me he went into this story that he had seen that same woman when he was about 8 or 9, multiple times in his parents' old house. So, I mean, the description was identical. So I just wonder if she was some kind of relative that maybe comes to visit the boys. And I was hoping, and maybe my prayers worked, I don't know. But I have a 9-year-old son, and I was like, man, it's going to happen to him. Luckily, it didn't so far, but he's still in that range, that 8, 9 range. So who knows? But that's my original story as to dealing with something ghostly that really kind of put me into this trajectory that this thing is real, that the paranormal exists.
At the age of 8, did you know immediately what you were looking at?
Yeah, I did because I had heard stories from my mom and others of ghost things. She was translucent, like I kind of mentioned before. You could kind of see what was behind her through her, and so that's kind of a typical apparition thing. So I didn't think intruder. I didn't think it was somebody that wasn't supposed to be there. I just knew right away that it was, and maybe it was just within me that I knew that it was something paranormal. One thing I want to mention for the listeners is, and it's kind of funny now because I have a hard time watching this scene. I actually enjoy it, but I have a hard time
I
watching
knew
it.
you were going to bring this up.
But when you watch Ghostbusters,
I
the
knew
original
it.
movie, yeah. When you watch that librarian scene down in the library, like she literally looked very, very similar to that ghost that's down in the library. That's like, shh. Go watch it, guys, if you haven't seen it. It's a classic. But yeah, it gets me a little shaken up when I watch that scene because it was very, very similar. I think in that scene she's wearing like a purple dress. Ours was, the one I saw was more of a bluish, grayish, but it was a very similar look. And it's not the part where she's like, "Rawr," right?
Right.
And she turns into a
Just
monster.
when he's reading
But
it,
just
it's
from the
just-
side when she's kind of just reading the book. So anybody who wants to reference that, they can go watch that. But
Well, the way I picture it, because I didn't get to see her sadly, but why? Why did it have to be me? Why is she touching my feet? First off, second off, like buzz off, lady. But second off, I always picture like Peter Cushing in like a dress or something, like because you know how he's super gaunt, right? He's got that-
it did look like that kind of, yeah.
So that if that's another reference that helps, but yeah.
Grand Moff Tarkin.
Yep.
We don't have to like put this part on air, but is one of you sensitive?
Yeah, I am. I have seen that's why'd it have to be me, right? It's that whole thing. It's one of those things, and we can put this on there, but it's one of those things where, yeah, I always sense, so we're part Hopi Indian on my dad's side, so Native American. We got a big part of it too. It's not, some people say it's a smaller, the smaller portions, but I think that's where some of it comes from because, and then my mom on the other side. So it's like a good mix of both, I guess. But yeah, I definitely have like a sensitivity. Even now, there's moments where I sense stuff and I'm like, oh, I'm just ignoring it because I'm not a fan of. I'm not trying to invite as weird as we're doing a podcast. It's all about this, but I try to still keep barriers up.
Why did you guys decide to start doing a podcast?
For me, honestly, it started in a lot of ways because I've always been interested in this stuff, but I was also listening to other shows and I'm like, man, I think we could do this. I think I could do this. It started off with just me. And I originally wanted to do sort of like a storytelling platform. Think like Mr. Ballin mixed with like Weird Darkness or something. And so I was sort of doing that where I was telling stories and I was just doing it like on my lunches. Like I'd go on my lunch break and I'd go to this like quiet room and I'd just record into my phone and then I'd go back and edit it later. So those early episodes are hilarious to listen to. But so it did start out where I was doing that. And really I wanted to just I wanted to just tell stories, but now it's sort of evolved into wanting to have other people come on our show and have them tell their stories. My favorite thing is to talk with people. And so really I have a passion in that now. And before I think I did because I listened to a lot of podcasts that did that, but I just didn't think I had the ability to chat with others. Maybe maybe didn't believe in myself, but now that we've talked to many people and we continue to do it, it's a passion of mine, and I really enjoy hearing their stories. And it's just amazing the stuff that you start to hear that's a similar story from multiple people. You start to tie all these things and all these pieces together, and it's just a remarkable thing, really, when you think about it. Yeah, and I mean, what is the supernatural, right? It's like it's a good smorgasbord of everything. But like, what's weird about it is, like you've seen probably with the stuff you talk about on this show, Matt, a lot of the time, and the stuff we talk about, it's like every time you oh man, I'm pinning it. It's in the corner. I know what this is. Boom. Now you have like a million avenues, like nerve endings everywhere that you can't. All right, cool. I guess I didn't know. Now it's something different. And that's just how it works. But and I think that's why I get a little bit nervous about doing the opening that door a little more. But yeah, we can get into. There's so much more from when we were younger that we could get into for sure.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because just recently I talked to a guy that said just one thing that sent me spiraling down a new path of theories that I had never even entertained before. And now I'm just like so far out into left field with it. I don't even know what to do with it anymore. It's like starting all over again, like going back to the beginning and retracing through all the old stories and everything, trying to see like, oh, well, does this puzzle piece actually fit here? Is there one certain guest or story that you guys have had on your show that comes to mind that just really stood out to you?
For me, it's PJ. It's a recent one. PJ from Arkansas. She's on YouTube and stuff. You can look her up. But what I like about her is she's just like a simple wife. Like she's just out there living her life, and she loves her land. It's in Arkansas. It's a really pretty area, and man, she's had so many weird experiences out there and some like Class A Bigfoot, Sasquatch sightings. As I mentioned before, it's my favorite. It is my favorite subject now, and I think a lot of that goes down to a sighting I had way back, and not way back, but not too long ago. But definitely hers. She's had some strange, really scary ones. Like there was this big alpha male that was just pestering her, and it's always when her husband's gone hunting or at work or whatever. But they had this hot tub in their backyard, and it would, whenever she was in the hot tub, it would like show itself. So it'd just be up on the mountainside, boom, out of nowhere. And it would just do this call, or it would vanish and then show up again. And it was just, and there was a lot of weird stuff happening with that one. So I don't know. I think that one, she was so scared. She didn't know what to do. She would be stuck in this water. So that was a really cool episode. And I definitely believe her. That was one of my favorites.
See, for me, Matt, the one that really stands out for me is this guy, Nathan, that we had on the show. And it's just because it's local. That's a big part of it. So we're in Utah and we have the ski slopes. There's like Snowbird and all these, there's Alta and the different places that people go skiing up here because it's kind of the big thing to do when you're out here. Mm-hmm. Funny enough, we don't ever do it. We've never done it. We've lived here our whole lives. It's really funny. But anyway, Nathan, he was at one of those resorts, which is, those places are jumping in the wintertime. They're crazy and busy. And he was out there, and when he walked out, they're starting to load their car up because I think they were about to leave the resort. And on the mountainside, he started observing what looked like four stumps, these like big black stumps, like tree stumps, And he was looking at them closer, and I think he got like binoculars or something to look up close on them. And after a while, they weren't stumps. You had one stand up and walk off into the top of the mountain, and then the other one, the little smaller, that was probably the female, stood up and she was like doing this motion, and then the two other little ones stood up and they were like little baby ones, like juveniles, and they all just kind of went up the mountainside. But what was weird about his encounter was that he had this vision hit him in his mind, of the alpha male, the male that stood up first, and he got this clear, perfect vision of like all the details of this Sasquatch, and he drew a picture of it. And it was crazy talking to him because he's like, I know that sounds crazy, but like it was this imprint that hit my brain. And I saw him, like I was looking right up in front of him and saw all the details, like the wrinkles in his face, the hair, everything, right? And I don't know, that one just sticks with me because it's like a busy area. It's like they're watching people load the cars up, watching people ski. They're always kind of concerned about what we're up to as people, it seems like. It's their entertainment or whatever. And then having that weird image pop into his mind was pretty interesting to me.
Yeah, and he measured them after. He's like, after I looked at it again, I realized they were like tough shed size. All four of them. He described it like a tough shed when they were bent over. I'm like, that's insane. And he was like, he's 100 feet away or so. But like you can kind of measure that, when you're comparing it to trees and stuff around. And I thought that was really interesting. So
Yeah. What's the deal with Provo Canyon?
That place is a hot spot. I don't know what the deal is. There's a lot of food sources. We actually went up there. We've gone up there many times because we know it's a hot spot. And I've talked to my son plays soccer, and I talked to one of his soccer friends' parents one time and brought up the Uinta Canyon, which is the Provo area, and started asking him questions like we do. Like, you ever heard any weird screams out there when you're camping? Because they were talking about camping up there. You ever had? And they're like, yeah. What do you mean? And I start describing it, and they're like, they were just getting freaked out. Like, how does he know all this? And they had weird footsteps coming into their tent and all this kind of stuff. So it's definitely active. We went up there one time just to investigate, and we had these two mountain goats, these bighorn sheep, just hanging out with us. It was weird. They were on the mountainside with us, and they just like almost like two brothers, just like us. Mm-hmm. They came right next to us, and they were just chilling. And we were up there smoking. I was smoking my pipe. He was smoking his cigar or whatever. And it's just weird. So there's a lot of like weird activity up there. It's very powerful. A lot of animal sources, so food.
I went to a place that I, went to go investigate, in parentheses. I just, or quotes rather. I went out there just to go check out this area that is a pretty big hot spot from a different podcast I won't mention. There was a specific episode that blew me away. I was literally blown away by this episode. I went to this area because they named certain names on there, right? And it was on the map. It was on the map. I get there, boom, I'm going by myself, dangerous, whatever. I get up to this area, and I see something on the mountainside that was darker than the rest of the trees right there, and it was hunched over, similar to that tough shed thing. And I was like, what is, it kept catching my eye. Like, what is that? What is that? What is that? And I was far enough away that, like, I don't know, right? But all of a sudden, I took a few photos, and then I took another photo as I was about to leave, and it was in a different shape. And I'm like, whoa. And it was in the same area, but it was more slender the last time I took a picture of it, like it was standing up or something. And I'm like, uh-oh. So I was like, maybe I'm in the right area. Then I drove across the road, and it says, U.S. government property all around here, keep out. So there's so many areas right there that are government related right next to the place that I went to. And after I did a video on a YouTube thing, like, hey, I'm going out to this place, everyone check it out. When I did that, the very next time I went up with Roman to show him and Chips and some of the guys we went with, it was off the map. You can't find it anymore.
Like it's renamed.
The name is gone. They took it away. And there's elks. There's tons of elk on the other side of the mountain. There's turkey out there. It's just there's a river. There's a huge lake. It's called Deer Creek Reservoir. It's all right there.
And we had found a footprint up there too when we were up there at that moment, and it was a pretty good, decent footprint. It was a smaller footprint, like a juvenile, but it was definitely like really wide, not kind of like our feet are, a lot wider.
Well, and get this, Matt, too, last thing. Provo Canyon, if you go right behind that area that I was investigating, there's a canyon from the old 1800s that they named
Ape Canyon.
Huh.
Why? Why would you name something Ape Canyon in Utah?
Why do those place names exist all over the United States?
It's weird.
Yeah. It's always Ape Canyon, Monkey Hill, No Neck Holler, Devil Ridge. It's always these connotations. And that's actually something that we used to look for, whenever we go scouting new areas. If we found a place that had some of those names in it, we would check it out and look for certain geographical features. And if it had it, we would go there. And that's led to a lot of adventures.
So, I mean, we have it right outside our neck of the woods. I mean, it's like 40 minutes away from us right here, or a little less. And so I go up there like on occasion when I'm by myself. I've heard hotbeds timelines are, fall time, like right now, right before winter, and like in the spring. So obviously summer might be a heavy migration area where they're going further up where you can't see them as easy. But I don't know. I definitely think there's some truth to it going on over there.
Does other weird phenomenon happen in that area?
Not that we know of as much, but obviously we have the whole Uinta Basin out here, the whole Skinwalker Ranch thing. That area for sure is supercharged, and there's a lot of weirdness. We have land out there, so there's a lot of even happening on our land, which is only an hour away from Vernal, which is close to where Skinwalker Ranch is. But yeah, so there's a lot. There's definitely hot areas that have a lot of weird activity. I wouldn't say Provo has a lot of weird activity, but it definitely has the Sasquatch stuff. I don't know why. Besides the food thing we talked about and the geographical stuff.
I know we got
Yeah.
sidetracked for a second.
No, that was a good sidetrack.
Well, I was just thinking about some things, and I knew I wanted to ask you guys about the Provo Canyon stuff, because whenever it was, we had like a bunch of sightings happening all at once and a bunch of different videos, and I know that some of the videos are kind of whatever. People probably just trying to cash in on it, but it's been a hot area for so long, and then you hear about those places where you do have a bunch of different things seemingly happening all in the same geographic region for some reason. So I was just curious, because I'd never talked to anybody that had firsthand knowledge out there.
Well, I mean, for most people, they've seen those videos. There's the two that come to mind. The one standing on the hill that's snowy, and it's this big giant guy, and they're filming from a distance.
That one made the news.
And then there's the one with it's like you can see the leaves on the ground. He's like kind of on the hillside, and he's like throwing something huge, like a big boulder.
Right.
So those are the two that come to mind, and I think those both would be hard to mimic or to fake, because obviously the giant guy was way huge, and then the other guy throwing that big boulder is pretty tricky. But yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I invested that. So the area, the one with the leaves, the second one Roman said, where it's like throwing a little rock or a bigger rock or whatever at him. That's right by really close to where I investigated that stuff that I was just saying. So yeah, it's a heavy area. And I'm always, if I get a chance, I'm always either heading to Provo Canyon. There's another one called Logan Canyon, and that's another hotbed. So those are the only two that I've heard of in Utah. But it's weird because like right up above Skinwalker Ranch, there's another area that's like Wyoming border that's also very heavy with Bigfoot encounters. So I mean, it's everywhere, right? Like the more you've done this, the more you start seeing there's not really like a hot. I mean, there's hotbeds, but there's not. It's everywhere. You know what I mean?
There's a guy, I can't think of his name, but I ran across him on the internet years ago, and I know he does a lot of podcast appearances, but I guess he's like the property owner next to Skinwalker Ranch. Do you know who I'm talking about?
His name's Ryan
Ryan.
Burns. He's a friend of ours, kind of. Ryan Burns. He's cool.
Well, okay. So like I've heard about that stuff. Is he experiencing the same sort of stuff that's happening on Skinwalker Ranch?
Oh my gosh, it's like that and more. Like I feel like he's got more evidence than those guys do, and he keeps it close to the chest because I think he's worried about the public and how interested it is in all this stuff. But you'll see him post. So if you follow him, you guys can probably follow him on Facebook or whatever. But you'll see him post things all the time, and I'm like, dude, that picture is insane. Like just these amazing UFO that looks like it's coming out of a portal or something. Well, I'm like, wow, dude.
We got the opportunity to, after this last convention, we actually got the opportunity to hang out with his buddy Jeff, and they invited us onto their land, and his land, Ryan's. But the cool thing is, it was a very small group. We did a little ghost investigation out there. It was a lot of fun, but it was crazy because when I got it handed, we went across this bridge, and a buddy of ours, Gio, that we met there, nice guy from Vegas, he gave me the spirit box to hold on to right when I grabbed it. Again, the sensitive thing. right when I grabbed it, it just said twins. It just said twins. Like first thing it said right when I grabbed it.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, for real. And then as we go around the corner, everyone's getting this weird vibe to the left. Like there's these bushes. It looks just like Skinwalker Ranch because it's right next to it. So those heavy bushes and stuff, and then there's like big pastures. We were like looking into this heavy bush area because we all had weird feelings, and all of a sudden we literally audibly, this guy had one of those like where you can listen in and have
That's
the
a
big,
parabolic.
like, parabolic.
Yeah.
You could hear growls coming from that area, like, and we all heard it. It was more, 5 or 6 eyewitnesses, and as we come around the corner, the most audible, intelligent thing we heard on the space box besides the twin thing. We come around and we're all holding red flashlights and equipment and everything. All of a sudden we hear this thing say, "Hey," and we look over, it goes, it says, "Turn this way." And so we all turn this way and it says, "Hello," or whatever. So we all say hello and then it just goes, "I hate these investigators." It just said that out of nowhere. It was the weirdest thing to say on that. And we're like, okay. And so, and it's very hotbed, like Native American burial ground. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. So it was fun. It was a wild experience.
Did you guys ever have spirits interacting with you in your personal lives?
Yeah. I've had more of a scary, like demonic situation happen. A lot, I don't know if demonic, whatever the word is, but
Are you guys religious?
I consider myself Christian, but I'm not like a church goer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just believe in Jesus. That's it. Besides that, I still like research. I think there's a lot more openness out there. So I don't know. I don't knock on anything though, but you know what I mean? So
And Roman, you're a Satanist?
We're
opposites.
No, I believe I can control things with my mind. No, I'm the same as him. I consider myself a Christian. I'm not baptized or going to any specific church or any of that stuff, but I definitely, again, believer of Christ. And I think part of that does come from this background that we've dealt with, because I swear the only time you can get rid of these things is when you say, "In the name of Jesus, you got to get the hell out of here," And in my experience, that's the only thing that's worked. And it may just be my belief system. I'm open to that, but it seems to work. So,
Well, and speaking of what you said, Matt, here's a good one. And I know we're going to jump ahead a little bit from the previous 1996 experience that Roman had. This one was in 2002. It's called Pleasant Valley Days. So it's up in Schofield, Utah. If anyone wants to look that up, it's an old mining town. It's a really cool town, actually. There's a lake off the side of it. It's really pretty. But
think the Beetlejuice town. You know, when it's like the intro of Beetlejuice and you got the little guy
Yeah.
waving to people at the barber shop. It's like that.
And the cool thing is, like, they have this island off the lake, and so Pleasant Valley Days is in July, so it's basically a celebration of independence in a way. And so they do a lot of the red, white, and blue. They shoot fireworks off the island. There's a lot of people out there, but it's only for a few days. But we would go out there during like a family reunion with our dad's side, and as we were out there in 2002, so we were around 13 or 14 years old. We decided, hey, let's go to winter quarters. And winter quarters was the mining area that they would actually mine copper, coal, and silver. And it was in May 1st of 1900. There was a mining disaster that happened that blew the whole mine to smithereens. And you can actually see old train carts, like, coal carts and stuff on the other side of the mountain. So it blew like 200 feet. Like, it was that bad.
Yeah, and really quick, just to throw a little visual and just a little awesome thing in there. Well, scary and sad thing, but every man that lived in that town, which was probably more than it is now, husband, father, all that, everyone worked at the mine. That's like the only job that was there. And there was also a town nearby called Price, and everybody who lived in Price also worked at winter quarters. So it was kind of this main hub of like, this is the only job in town sort of thing. And then I guess you could start your own business for like medicine and little stores and things like that. For the most part, everybody was at the mine.
But basically, it was the biggest mine disaster in the West Coast during the time of 1900. 250 men lost their lives or more. They don't know exactly the number. But when that happened, they couldn't identify the bodies. So what they would do is they'd put a lot of these bodies that were charred up in the old school, because the school was the biggest area to put like the gymnasium upstairs. So they'd put a bunch of bodies, have the parents or families come identify them if they could. And if they couldn't, they would just put them in a gravestone, and it was unmarked. There was a lot of unmarked ones up there. And so that's the sad, tragic part of it. But we were, all right, let's go investigate the school, right? Because we're kids. We're going to break into the school. So we broke into the back of the school. We had one of those old camcorders that was still HD, but it was old. It was like 720. Boom, super old school. And my cousin and myself and Roman were together, us three, and also one of our other cousins. But we broke in the back. There was a little table in the gymnasium. We put the camera there. We left, and all of us left for about 20 minutes or so. And right after, you can tell when we leave because the audio, we still have it on YouTube, but the audio dissipates, right? And then about a minute later, all of a sudden you start hearing basketballs bouncing. You hear a kid laugh. You hear a weird sinister laugh. I don't know what that's all about. And then you hear a bunch of other like kids playing. It literally sounds like a full gymnasium of people. And so that was one of the best evidences we caught. And it tried to move the camera. Like you can tell when the camera's sitting on the table, something was tapping it, like trying to move it. So after we got that, we didn't know what we caught yet. We're like, oh, sweet, we let's go see this when we get home because you can't just review it at the cabin. And we get to our tent, and we're staying in a tent. It's just Roman, myself, and my cousin again, Sean. And all the older people stay in the cabin, right? So we're in this tent, and there's a street light that shines on the tent. This is just giving you context later for what happens. But we go to sleep, and as we're all trying to sleep, all of a sudden it just sounds like a really, really, really windy night. That's what I thought. I was in the middle. Rome was on one side. Sean was on the other. So I look up. I'm like, what? It's so windy outside. And as I look up into the top of the tent canvas, I just see, and I'm not joking, little kid hands pushing on the tent from every angle of the tent, on the very top, on the sides, in the middle, everywhere you can look. They're pushing their little hands, two pairs at a time, or a pair at a time, and trying to push into the tent.
And giggling too.
And there's a little giggle going on. So I look over at Sean to see if he's awake. And as I look over, his eyes are wide and he's just staring at me and not making a sound. So he's wide awake, seeing the same thing. And we both just sat there in silence until it was done. I had to pee so bad and I was just scared as hell. And I didn't know Rome was turned the other way. But when we woke up the next day, Roman told us the same thing. They were pushing at his face, actually, the two little hands, and he saw it. But the context of the streetlight was you should be able to see a shadow of somebody messing with you, right? If it was like other
Yeah.
kids or something that we knew, and they would have fell into the tent if they're at the top. So we know it was something weird. There was no shadows. It was just hands. It was crazy.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, I know. It was so bad. And I got chills thinking about it right now again because it's too much.
I've heard a lot of haunting stories centered around old schools and old school grounds. What do you think draws that child energy to those locations like that? Because typically whenever we think of haunting, we think of like spirits attaching themselves to people or like objects or like very personal things. And like, I get it. You know, we spend a lot of time in schools and everything. It always seems really strange to me that you have those type hauntings. Do you think it's actually the spirits of children, or do you think maybe it's something just trying to portray itself as children?
Yep, that's where I was going to go with this, Matt. That's a good question. That's where I was going to go with it. Is that I think that it's something mimicking children for the most part, because yeah, I think I have a prime example of it now. I have a 17-month-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. My 17-month-old daughter is so attached to my wife, right? It's just, and so it doesn't matter what age. I think kids just, they go to what they're attached to. And I don't think a school is always what they're going to be attached to. I hated going to school as a kid, myself. The only fun part was having friends and stuff. I hated doing homework and all that. So that's my mindset, is that it's probably something wanting you to believe that it's children, and it's a whole gotcha thing. And so that makes me a lot more stressed when we do deal with something like that. And I should mention, when we first got into the school, I went downstairs at first with a friend, with one of the cousins, and it felt like so heavy. Like there was this weird air in there that felt like out of this world. And it's so hard to describe, but it just felt like there was no sound right there, and it just felt like I was in a void. So I don't know if there was a portal there and that's like attracting demonic entities. Who knows? But yeah.
And I feel very similar to that. Man, I don't know. I just can't foresee, especially being a Christian, I can't foresee like a kid just being here. I feel like I don't know, just an age of accountability and all that. I feel like there shouldn't be a reason somebody should be stuck here like that at that age. But hey, I don't know, right? That's why we do this. And I will say that like maybe this is my opinion of that situation is maybe, just maybe, right? We're the only adults. Well, we were adults. Yeah, we were still adults. Well, not really. We were 13. Maybe that was the area where all the bodies were sitting, right? So maybe there's just a lot of unrest and sorrow because those are the kids that didn't know who their dad was, didn't get closure that their dad was the one that died or something. I don't know. And maybe they were coming to, hey, don't leave us. Like we were stuck here. I don't know. It just felt weird. Something about it was just off. But yeah, it's a good question.
Is that the scariest event that you guys have experienced?
Yeah, I would say like probably supernaturally, like yeah, ghost related, probably. There's been smaller things where like there's a mimicking something was mimicking my mom or my grandma and my stepdad in our old house and stuff, and it would sound just like them and kind of throw you off. But it wasn't anything like that kind of thing. So yeah, I would definitely say that was probably our scariest ghost encounter.
Yeah, I mean, and along the kid lines, I just want to tell one really short one that is kind of interesting because I guess my son was involved in this one. We were living in this house. It was just a rental house. Well, we owned it, but we were living in the basement and we rented out the top half. And there was one time where I was sleeping in the master bedroom, and again, I woke up for no reason, middle of the night, and my wife was next to me and everything. And this is when my son was like 2.5, 3 years old. He was a toddler, and there was this doorway to the big walk-in closet that I could see, and for some weird reason, my eyes just went straight to it, and there was a little girl looking at me. And again, it was one of those things where I'm like, am I dreaming? This time I was like, am I dreaming? Am I not? So it was harder for me to tell if I was awake or dreaming. But now when I look back on it, I know I was awake. But I look over and I see this little face peering at me from within the closet, and she's got like red hair coming down, red curly hair. And I can see kind of the clothes she's wearing because I can kind of see her body sticking out a little bit. And she's wearing like the Girl Scout style like clothing, and she has kind of like that 80s sort of look with her hair and style and everything. And she's looking at me, and I see blue eyes and everything. So I see a lot of detail. And it's as soon as I look at her, she goes, she does this like reaction, like, you're not supposed to see me. And in my mind, I didn't say this out loud, but in my mind, I said, you need to go. You're scaring me so bad. Like I was freaked out. So in my mind, I'm like, you need to go. And she instantly runs. Like I see her run out of the closet and through the hallway that we have and gone. Like I just can't see her anymore. So that happens. I freak out. I kind of find myself falling asleep again at some point. I don't know how. I tell my wife about it, and I don't know if she believed me, whatever. But then maybe a few months later, a few weeks later, my wife tells me this because I was at work, but she tells me that he was in his room, and so again, he's like a toddler, 2, 3 years old, and he's playing by himself, but it sounds like he's talking to somebody or trying to talk to someone. Back then he was mumbling and stuff. And all of a sudden he starts screaming, like crying, like he got hurt or whatever. And so my wife goes to console him, and we could kind of understand what he said as parents, just knowing how he talks and stuff. And he basically referenced that a little girl was in his room, and she hit him with his toy on his head and then ran out the room. And when my wife was asking what he looked like, he described red hair. He said she had red hair. And so I'm like, wow. And so super weird. My son doesn't remember it now. We tried to look up the history of the house, and there's nothing weird there. Nobody died or anything there. We still own the house, actually, my wife and I, and nothing weird happens there. So I don't know what it was. I think if I remember correctly, I did a prayer because I felt weird that it was a child. Like you said, it bothers me too. So I did a prayer, and she hasn't been around. So I don't know if she went back wherever she goes to the light or whatever. But again, we have renters that live down there now, and we've never had any trouble. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and the weirdest part too, Matt, real fast on my end of that is I used to stay at his house a lot. I had gone through a pretty heavy divorce at the time, and I was just like, I need somebody around. So I would hang out with him, and bless Mel's heart again for allowing me to stay there as much as I did. But I would sit there and watch shows, and then I'd fall asleep on the couch right there all the time with these guys. They'd be in their room, whatever. But when I was on the couch, I'd be sitting looking towards like the living room, and I used to get this really weird feeling that something was like looking at me really close, like looking at my eyes, like as close as it can. So and I always saw it as like a something small. And so and I never knew this story yet. And then I would turn the other way and I would look towards the couch cushion that I'm like, you'd normally put your back on. And that would protect me. I'd put a blanket over and I'd just sleep. And I'm like, I'm like 31 or something at the time. You know, it's only been a little while. But then we talked to a guy on our podcast and he was like, yeah, that's exactly what was happening. There was somebody looking and he knew exactly because he was a sensitive too. And he has like a lot of like psychic stuff, but I don't know if that's true, but all I can say is I had that weird feeling all the time over there, every night pretty much. So that was weird.
I want to take a break for a moment just to remind everyone the holidays are upon us. This episode comes out on Halloween, and in my house, that means the start of the shopping season. And I've already gotten an early start at Uncommon Goods. Uncommon Goods makes holiday shopping stress-free and joyful, with thousands of one-of-a-kind gifts you can't find anywhere else. If you know someone that is hard to shop for or already has two of everything, Uncommon Goods is your place to find that perfect gift, one they will appreciate and don't already have. Uncommon Goods sources products that are high quality, unique, and oftentimes handmade right here in the U.S. by independent artists and small businesses. When I was browsing the website, I found a paper airplane kit that allows you to add electronics and fly it around like a drone using your phone. That one got added to my Christmas list this year. When I say they have something for everyone, I really do mean it. Moms, dads, teenagers, in-laws, whatever they're into, you can find it on Uncommon Goods. So shop early, have fun, and cross some names off your list today. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/Bigfoot. That's uncommongoods.com/Bigfoot for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. And speaking of out of the ordinary, your story just reminded me of this event, we'll call it. At the time, I wasn't staying at my cousin's house, but I was over there a lot. There was a period of time where I was staying there. And at the time, his first child was born. This was his daughter, and she was a toddler at the time. He had two boys later on, but they weren't born yet. You know, we grew up as close as brothers. Maybe not as close as you guys, but generally speaking, we weren't like distant cousins or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so he had been around me, and he had been around my house, and he had experienced things, and he knew that stuff was there, but he wasn't into it like I was. I don't know if he was afraid of it or if he was just kind of on the fence with it, even though he had experienced things himself. There's a point in time where he talked to me and said that every night his daughter was waking up at the same exact time. There would be laughter. She would start cracking up, and this would go on for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then she would go back to sleep. And this is every night. And so he wanted me to come over and check it out. So I'm over at his house, and his living room wall, on the opposite side of that wall was her bedroom and her crib. She was still in a crib at the time. She was probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years old at the most. You know, she was starting to talk, but still needed to be in a crib and everything. Couldn't get out of the crib on her own or anything like that. So we're sitting there, and I had honestly forgotten about it. We were probably playing, you know, video games or something. I'm just going to say the time was 1:45. I don't remember exactly what the time it was that he told me that this happened at every single night. But sure enough, 1:45, we hear her just bust out laughing in her bedroom. She had been quiet the entire night before that.
Ooh.
And then, and I'm like, I look up at the clock and I look at him and I was like, oh my God, you were serious. So this started sort of an investigation. And like every night, same exact thing. The second night I'm over there when this happens, I sneak down the hallway. Her bedroom door is closed. I'm standing there listening, and you can hear her talking to somebody.
Ugh.
And I'm just like, what is going on? And I sit there and listen for a minute, and I'm like, dude, there's somebody in her room. I mean, I'm hearing whispering, you know. Throw the door open. She's standing in her crib looking towards the closet whenever the door flies open. And then she stops and turns and like looks at the door. There were several instances where she had a dresser in her room and items that were on top of the dresser, like stuffed animals and shoes and things, would be thrown into the floor like the next day whenever you went in there. And she would still be in her crib. She can't reach it. The last time it happened, it sounded like there was a big bang. And we believe that something may have picked her up and dropped her back in the crib. It was so intense that at one point in time, I actually slid a piece of paper and a pencil underneath the door just to see if anything would happen. Nothing did. But like I said, at the time, she was just starting to really talk, you know, and I asked her who she was talking to, who was in the closet, who came and played with her every night. And she said, Henry. No Henry in the family. Nobody named Henry. Don't know where this Henry name came from. And it's kind of
Yikes.
a weird name just for, you know, a little toddler like that to come up with on their own. But then, just like how it all started out of nowhere, it stopped out of nowhere. And there was nothing else. I don't think she remembers it either. I don't think she recalls any of that stuff happening. There was no explanation for it. Like the house didn't have activity or anything like that prior to that or after. Just one of those things. And so, like, I know I experienced stuff as a kid. And I don't know. Do you guys think that kids are magnets for that stuff? Or are they just more sensitive to it? Or what's going on with that?
That age that you said where they're just starting to talk, that's when Ezra was seeing his little boy was seeing that little girl. And I don't know. I don't know if it's like a weird veil thing or what, but I will say another thing that happens with us is like Roman said it. He wishes he kind of he comments about it sometimes, like wishes there'd be more that happens because then he'd get some clarity. But I'm like, no, you don't, because like it's still happening to me sometimes. But yeah, for kids, there's something weird about it. It's like they're closer to the veil, whatever it might be. But they're just, or maybe just they're just open. Like their world hasn't messed with them yet.
That's what I think it
You
is.
know?
I think it's an openness because the more you open up to it, even as an adult, it starts to come around. I just think that they're not so closed off. They're not jaded by the world yet. They don't.
Zero judgment.
Yeah, they believe everything is possible, right? Like as a kid, anything, and that's what was so scary about being a kid. Myself is like anything is real, everything's real, right? And
And also is the most magical. Like I remember feeling like Peter Pan, like jump off the stairs and fly. Like we could fly. We could feel that way at least, you know. And I don't know, possibility. Yeah, I think you're right on that, Rome.
So now that you're older and you realize that some of these things are in fact out there, the thing that I've been working on and questioning everybody about, do you think that there's a connection between all this stuff, or is it centralized around the person? Is it the person that's special? Because like yourselves, I mean, you guys have had a lot of experiences, and I'm sure you've talked to other people that have had a lot of experiences, and those experiences aren't just, you know, sure, sometimes you do get an instance where like, oh, well, yeah, there was this one time at my house and I heard some voices and nobody else was there, but that's the only thing. But then you have these other people who are like, yeah, I've been visited by ghosts my whole life. I've seen UFOs. I've seen Bigfoot.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just all this stuff going on. Do you guys think there's a connection between the different phenomenons? Do you think it's people?
I think there has to be a connection somewhere, and we're seeing that as we do our show and as we talk to more people. I agree with you. It's weird that there are individuals that seem to have, and sometimes it's like you said, they have all the above, the UFOs, the Bigfoot, the ghostly stuff. Maybe there's something that like a magnet, like you said, maybe they can see, maybe the other side can see us, easier. They're those ones that are more open in some way, shape, or form. Maybe they are gravitating towards it because they need help or whatever, especially on the spiritual side. I don't know about the Bigfoot side, but it does seem like there are people that have many, many encounters with Sasquatch, Bigfoot. And I don't know, we're still working it out. Honestly, we're just like you. We're still working it out. And the more you hear, the more you get confused. The more you hear, the more you sort of connect. So it's like this double-edged sword of what the heck is happening out there. I don't know. I don't really have an answer on that myself.
Well, but you will, like, you'll hear, like, in the native tribes and stuff, there's a medicine man, and they've been trained to be a medicine man, right? So, and
Yeah,
then
good point.
they're able to see things that no one else can. Skinwalker is a good example of the evil side of that, and being able to twist one's body into something different, right? And really, really twist the fabric of reality in general. I don't know if it's like the ones that are more open and they don't want to be. Maybe there was, I don't, if you believe in past lives, which we've done a lot of past life study on different episodes, and if that's the case, maybe there is levels to your past lives, and if there is levels to your past lives, maybe you're the ones that are getting it here are either way down here on the level or they're way up here on the level. They've gone through a bunch of lives. Maybe they've been a hero in some of their lives, and that's why these beacons are reaching out to them. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason behind it in the afterlife that we don't really have an answer to. And also, time is relative, it seems like, in the afterlife. So who knows, right? But that's a speculation as well, by the way. I don't know. But
We don't know, Matt. We just don't know. It's psycho out there. Come on, give us some answers, somebody.
Well, it's just interesting because you talked about earlier that guest that you had on that had the Bigfoot encounter where the image of the alpha popped in his head, right? And then you have you, Jaren, who's got some gifts of his own, goes out to an area looking for Bigfoot. There's Bigfoot, but you don't have any of that psychic paranormal stuff happen to you. Do you think that, the paranormal Bigfoot stuff that people experience is that Bigfoot? Is it something else?
it's getting heavy in here. Man, it's weird, right? It's a weird thing. Like I said, I mean, I was out looking for it in a way when that happened.
That's why we're a great team because we got the cryptid guy and the ghost guy. So it's like we can kind of, yeah.
But I'm like, but why? Why was it? Why again? Why was it me that sees it? I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. And then there's people that'll do this for 45 years, their whole life, and they never have one class B or A sighting. They don't have any sighting, but they love it. They're still interested, right? So it's like, why is it that somebody that's still interested can't? And why is it that somebody that maybe isn't interested has a really horrifying sighting and they never want to see it again? I don't know. It's a good question. And that's for everything. That's not just for Bigfoot, right? There's people out there that are like, I'm a sensitive like myself. I don't really want to deal with a ghost showing up in my room every night trying to ask me, help me, I drowned last night. Like, no way.
But you find all these connections really quick that, like with alien abduction, for example, where people are hearing the telepathic communication and then their body gets frozen and stuff. You get that with, like, we're gonna do a show. Our next show coming out is gonna be on sleep paralysis, and that's like you get that with ghosts or whatever it is that's doing that to you. If it is not scientific, which it could be scientific as well, but it's like, I don't know. Yeah, the more we do this, the more it's like you are seeing those connections, and it's across the board from different entities. It's not just ghosts. And again, Bigfoot sort of speaks telepathically, apparently, to a lot of different eyewitnesses, and that image going in that guy's head is sort of a telepathic sort of thing. If it did come from that entity, maybe it just came from the man. That's the other thing. Who's the egg and who's the chicken, right? It's like, it's just hard to know. We have no answers.
We don't know anything. So let me just clue you guys in. 20 years from now, you're still not going to have those answers. I mean, hopefully you guys will, hopefully the answers will come out eventually, but I don't think they're going to.
I mean, we're still trying to figure out what anything is. Like, we don't even know what's in the deep sea yet, all the way, as science says, right? We don't even know how light specifically works 100%, or how, like, sleep process. That's when we're going to talk about, like you were saying. Some of it has a science backing, but they still don't have an answer as to why these entities show up in the room too. There is those other things that are science-based, but there's always that other thing, and it always has a connection with other people that have had that same experience. So I don't know. I think we're almost there. There's pieces of the puzzle we're figuring out, but it's the same thing you always say, like, or all of us always say. It's like, you go down a path, you're like in a corn maze. All of a sudden there's another, and now we got to go back and go the other way. And then all of a sudden you went down that same path you thought you went down. Now it's open again. It's like, I don't get it.
But I will say, Matt, really quick, just to tie on my brother's comment there. I think that's why I don't know. I think that's why it's good to be more open. Like this is the way at least my mentality is, and I think my brothers too. We just want to be a little bit more open and not try to like stay in one specific camp or line because the more you kind of box yourselves in, the more you kind of cut off like certain things from people's experiences because you're like that doesn't fit my idea of what's
Right.
going on. So, like you said, we were. I don't know if we were talking off air about your thing that you mentioned that you're going off sort of a rabbit hole and doing all this investigation that's taking you a different way, and that's true. That's just what comes of it. But the more you're open to it, I think we're going to find answers faster than if we put ourselves in little boxes. But yeah, it's interesting.
Are there any certain rabbit holes that you refuse to go down?
Well, one thing that terrifies me 100%, and I really don't want, I'm actually more into Dogman than this. I really want to know about Dogman, even though that's really scary. And there's like the Anubis thing. There's like all these connections where, real werewolf lore from the UK times in the old 1600s. And now there's Dogman sightings. And it's like, is it all the same thing? But also, so that one I'm into, but the one I'm not into is the rake, the pale crawler thing. I don't even want to get involved in that. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't seem anything good whatsoever. There's just no good in it, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just don't want to get down that rabbit hole. I'm a little scared, and I'm a little scared of involving myself in like the DMT world because I'm actually scared of my own mind a little bit. I'm still maturing, and I do feel like I'm not. I wouldn't be ready for that rabbit hole of experience.
What about you, Roman?
Oh man, I've been trying to think about it. I don't know. I'm open to all rabbit holes. I don't think there's any that I'm concerned about going down. I just don't want to get too lost. That's the other thing. You can get too lost, and that scares me. Um, I think this is what drives people mad. These are mad times. Um, yeah, no, I don't know. I'm pretty open. There's going to be something that's going to pull me back, but right now I'm pretty open to it.
You guys were talking about doing an episode on sleep paralysis, and that's what caused me to ask that question because there was a point in my life where for a period of time randomly in my 20s I started experiencing sleep paralysis on a regular basis, and it was super weird, and there were some things tied to it that were different than what I had heard people talk about and what I've read about whenever it comes to sleep paralysis. And so it's a thing like it stopped. It eventually disappeared. It was also after it went away, I started sleepwalking heavily, which I had never done. And then that also went away. And I was talking to somebody and they brought up some things and asked me some questions regarding my experiences during that time. And it caused me to think about things. And that is a door that I've just kept closed because I'm afraid of, what might be waiting on the other side of it. Why are you guys doing an episode on sleep paralysis? I mean, it's not like you can't. It's a great topic and all, but is there a certain reason? What's piquing your interest?
I had an experience one time that was kind of freaky. I think I was in my 20s too when that happened, and we just actually this is more of a listener request. I think we get this from listeners. They want us to do certain topics, and this has been one that comes up over and over again. This and they did time slips for a while.
Yeah.
There's
The
a couple
Mandela
others.
effect, which is also part of that. Everyone's interested in all that kind of stuff.
But yeah, we want to do it because if our listeners want to hear it, let's dive into it.
Well, and also I have like a heavy, like I was saying with the DMT thing, that's tying into what you guys are saying. Like I'm fearful of where that would go. What if I don't come back to my body, right? Like it's that whole thing. It's like, or am I even leaving my body when I'm doing that? Like it's the whole astral projection thing, like all that. So I think all of that kind of ties into it. Maybe when you're in your sleep phase, you come out of your body just a tad bit to where you're in that astral realm, and that's when you're seeing all that weird stuff. I don't know. That's a good question.
I guess Matt, really quick, it just came to my mind, but the path I don't want to go down is like the CE5 event with Stephen Greer, Dr. Greer. I'm not doing that. I'm not going out to the middle of nowhere and trying to call aliens, and that freaks me out. So,
Dude, why is it okay? So, I mean, if you go out calling something, how do you know what's answering?
that's the whole abyss stares back thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked to a few people over the years that have talked about, Bigfoot mind speak stuff and all that. And I'm like, well, how do you know it's Bigfoot talking to you? Just because you want it to be Bigfoot talking to you, do you guys ever think about, mimics and demons and things like that might be pulling the strings on some of this?
That's what scares me about doing things like gifting when you're a Sasquatch researcher. Because what are you gifting to? Like, it's almost like you're giving an offering to.
Exactly. That's a ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what even is Bigfoot? We don't really even know. I mean, we know that it's like an ancient thing because Indian native tribes like traded with them and stuff, and at least that's the consensus, and that they're around the world. But like, yeah, same thing. What are these? Are we gifting to an ancient Nephilim like they always say? Maybe, and then that means it's part demonic, right? And now I don't know. It's a good question, but those are always the questions. We always talk about this stuff. Always.
I mean, I've become extremely conscious recently of the fact that a lot of the stuff that researchers and investigators do are really just modern versions of things that were going on a very long time ago that usually led to really bad things.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever experienced any missing time?
Okay.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
perfect.
We wanted to close out like whenever we just wanted to tell this one story. So it
Yeah.
ties in perfectly to
This is perfect, Matt.
Okay,
You're on
are
the
you
same
guys gonna
wavelength.
like bust into flames or something at the end? Like,
Get ready for this trick. Now, okay, so this was in 2021, right? Now we're getting into the weeds with I'm just gonna give it up, an potential alien abduction. All right.
of who? You guys?
Me and Roman, yeah. And we have some good reasons behind this. Like I know it sounds crazy, right? Like everyone, oh man,
Yeah,
I'm
everyone
tinfoil
buckle up
hat,
real
I've seen
quick.
everything. Just bear with us. So 2021, it was our 33rd birthday, right? We went into the canyon. Mel, Roman's wife, bought us a yurt. Like it's like a cabin to rent out, but it's really pretty and it's just a circular area. And there's a fire pit and it's in the middle of the canyon. It's a little Cottonwood Canyon, if anyone wants to look it up. And the area that we stayed at was called Tanner Flats, which is a really pretty area up there. It's kind of in the middle of the canyon. And we're hanging out, having a good time. We found it's in the summer. Our birthday's in the summer, so we're like, oh, let's go find a place in the river. We stayed there one night by ourselves already, and that was a really fun time. Actually, we had a really good time. But we stayed up really late, and we had the fire going, and it was pitch black in that canyon. Everyone else went to bed, and I think that ties into this because we were being loud, having a good time, just me and him. We go to sleep. Next day, we go to the river. We find this really cool pot where we can sit in the river. And we had some friends over at that time, and it was just a guy and a girl and us two. And we sat in the river, had a good time. We did have a few beers, right? But nothing crazy. It was like 3 beers each or something, like standard. And as we're hanging out over there, all of a sudden, in the middle of this river, which is the weirdest place to do this, we all blacked out, all of us. And I woke up and I'm in the biggest days of my life. Like it felt the same way it felt when I got my wisdom teeth out, when you're coming out of that anesthesia and you're like, whoa. I felt like that where I'm like I got drugged or something. And I look over and I see Roman and he's like on the side of the river. I'm sleeping in the river. Whatever, I was in the river the whole
And
time.
mind you, really quick, this is snow melt water, so it's freezing
Cold.
cold, and it's going to tie into the story because we had missing time
Oh.
in that situation.
I look over at Roman. He's scrambling. He looks the same as me. We're both fighting through it, but the other two are gone. They're not there. Our buddies. I found out later they were fine, but they also had lost time, so they were super weird and they stopped talking to us for a while, which was also weird. But I look over at Roman and he's looking for his phone, his keys, his wallet. Everything's gone, and we're both barefoot. We're both in our swimsuit, we're like, we just go out of our way. You didn't find your phone or your keys yet.
I didn't find my phone. I found my keys and my wallet, and they were in the water.
They were in the
So I'm like,
water.
oh my gosh! Like, so I pull them out of the water, and then we start crawling out.
We crawl up this
Big
mountainside,
rock side. Yeah.
and it's heavy. It's like we're hurting ourselves on rocks and everything because we're so out of it. We walk down this mountainside to get back to the camp, and then we lay down on the beds. Boom. We have this dream. I have this dream. I didn't know he had it yet. I have this dream, and I'm laying on my stomach on the bed on the yurt, and there's two beds, so Roman had one too. And in my dream, I wake up and it feels in the dream it felt super real. I didn't wake up, sorry. I was in the dream and it was the landscape was like a Kansas or something, like where there's not a lot of mountains. I'm in this cornfield and I'm by myself and I'm frantic and I'm worried. I'm like, where's Roman? Where's Roman? And as I'm frantic, I know something's chasing me. So I look back and I see this thing. I don't know what it is yet. And I start running away from it. And as I'm running away from it, I'm running towards this little shack and a little truck that's over there. And as I'm trying to run towards this, I look back up because there's this big shadow over me. And as I see the shadow, I look up and I see what it is. And it's a big osprey, like a massive white and gray bird that's as big as me. And it's a, beak and all. And it looks down at me with this beady eye and it's like trying to get me. And I get to this truck, almost to the truck, and then it lands on the shed, the shed that I was trying to get to, and it starts pulling these wires off the top of this roof. There's like all these wires, like it's almost like a telecommunication shack. And then I wake up, and I'm freaking out. And when I wake up, I go, Roman. And I thought he was gone, because I still feel like this is real. He's right next to me. And then he wakes up, and you could tell you're part of it.
Yeah, so in my dream, and this has all happened at the same time, same night and everything. In my dream, again, same sort of setting. It's this cornfield, this like flatlands, and I'm barefoot in the dream, which ties in because we were barefoot in real life, couldn't find our shoes. And I'm running. I'm frantic. I can't find my brother. Same vibe. I'm like, where's Jaren? Where the heck's Jaren? And I'm terrified because I know that we need to get. It's this frantic thing. Like we need to get out of there. Like we got to get going. And I look over and I see this little farmhouse, this little like shack farmhouse thing, and there's a little Tacoma, like a little truck next to it, like a little farm truck. And I'm like, oh man, I need to get to that truck and just get out of here. I need to see if there's keys in it and just speed off. And in my mind, I'm thinking that this is some kind of Airbnb or something that we're staying at, which is weird too. I always forget that part. But anyway, I'm like, but we got to go. I'm so scared. And I can tell there's something coming. Same thing. All of a sudden I look up in the sky and above me, there's this astronaut, this guy wearing a white astronaut suit, and he's got his arms spread out like a T shape, like he's flying. And he's got a astronaut helmet on. But what's weird about the astronaut helmet? So he's wearing white and gray, like you see on a typical astronaut suit. What was weird about his helmet is it had like the two eyes, like instead of the full visor, it has like the two round eyes that are like glass eyes. And he's flying overhead, and then he lands on top of the shack, the house thing, and there's like almost like an AC unit on top of that, and he starts ripping wires, just like starts ripping the hell out of these wires and cutting them and stuff. And I'm like, what's going on? So then I get to the truck and wake up, like I was trying to take off, and he's looking at me. So he sees me, he's like trying to stop me. I wake up. When I wake up, I look over looking for my brother. I see him, he's on the bed next to me. So crazy, right?
And then when we look over at each other, we're like freaking out. Like, oh, I'm so glad you're safe. I just had this dream. And Roman's like, oh, I just had the same dream, but it was a little different. And then I looked at my arm that was hanging down off the bed on this side, and I had this little red mark right here that was fresh, and it was like sore. And then Roman had the same one on the other
opposite
arm
side, yeah,
in the same area.
Yep. And so it felt like we had like an IV recently or something. Like when you do that, you get that little prick mark. So it was really weird. And since then, we still don't know what it was or anything. I have a little like bump in my back that's really small that I never had until after that moment. So I wanted to get
We
it
still
checked
need to
out.
cut that open and see what it is.
But it's just really strange to us. We don't know what it was, but it feels like an alien abduction that was sort of a screen memory.
Yeah.
To try to hide what actually happened to us.
What do you make of that, Matt, just from your side?
Have your buddies said anything about their experience?
No, that's the thing. Like they just kind of distanced themselves from us, and we just haven't had a good
Yeah,
conversation.
they almost don't even talk to us anymore. And I don't think there was a falling out. It's a more of a weird thing.
Right.
Like they maybe had an experience or they saw something or I don't know.
And this person was close to me, by the way. He was a pretty close friend. Like it was since 7th grade. kind of thing.
Any smells associated with the memory?
Oh, we've been asked that before.
That's a good
We were
question.
on Spaced Out Radio or one of those, Element 115. I think they asked us that because we told the story on that show. I don't think
I don't
so.
remember, but dirt, definitely dirt
Yeah,
smell.
maybe dirt, like an
wet
earthy
dirt.
smell. Yeah.
To me, the matching dream thing really seems like some sort of, kind of like you're saying, like a false memory implant or something like a placeholder to mask what you're actually experiencing at the time. If you think about missing time, yeah, this is going to get deep for a second. So think about think about a balloon, okay? Or just like a piece of rubber, and you take your finger and you poke the balloon and it stretches out. And then you let go and it comes back, right? So imagine if something had the ability to do that with time. So I'm wondering if like maybe the dreams that you guys experienced is whenever the time was stretched forward, and then whenever it's released, you snap back and you wake up in the river.
Yeah.
That's how the missing time thing happens. So in your mind, you go forward in time and you go to bed and you have that dream, but in actuality, that had already happened. If that makes sense. This is so complicated.
Oh man, I've never thought of that.
That's
Wow.
what that makes sense though. That's huge.
The osprey and the astronaut.
Yeah, they're both the same colors too. That's what the weird part, and they were both the same size, basically.
And it could have just been something as simple as like your different brains trying to process, what you were seeing, and that's what it ended up being processed as.
I kind of picture like we got away somehow. Like we were being abducted. We were in their ship or whatever. Somehow we got away for a second. They were trying to get us back. And maybe the whole wire thing. I don't know what the wire thing is, but it reminds me of like trying to get a door to shut, like to stop it,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Or changing the IV stuff to make it so we don't wake up, sort of
Yeah,
thing.
and the screen memory of the creature. He saw an astronaut with the two separate eyes. I saw big, beady, like osprey eyes, and I'm still a little bit fearful of osprey to this day. So I have a fear towards that, and I love wild big birds like falcons.
It's
hawks,
a
and all that.
very specific bird too.
Yeah. And I never saw one before that. Actually, Yellowstone, after we went the next year to Yellowstone, which I'm repping the shirt right now. But we went there later to the lake and I saw an osprey and it freaked me out. I was like, whoa, that's weird. But what I was going to say is I wonder if that's a screen memory, like you're saying, of what we pictured, what we were actually dealing with, but it was actually like a standard gray you would see.
Yeah, because
or
you get the
something.
whole owl thing all the time where people see
Right.
owls instead.
Right.
It's, yeah.
I'm wondering what your buddy saw.
I know.
If
I've
only-
tried to get a hold of him. I think he changed his number. I don't know. There's a lot. He was already going through a little bit at that time anyway with life, like family changes and stuff. So maybe they moved back to California. I don't know. It's been a while since I've talked to him now. So
And he's not active on social media or
yeah,
anything.
he hasn't
so-
been.
Yeah.
So
Any follow-ups with alien stuff that you've experienced since then?
No, not really. I mean, that's the weirdest thing about it is a lot of times when this stuff happens, people have other things that come up.
I forgot to say really fast. There's one more part to this. So ever since that happened, right? This has been an ongoing thing. You know what I'm going to say now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Ever since then, this never happened to me before. But now, like, let's just say a car's driving like 50 feet away and it's in my peripheral. I'll freak out. Sometimes I'll think it's right next to me. Like
Like
oh, and
the
I'll
noise
think
is so loud, like it's right.
and then
here.
also the picture looks closer. So I don't know what that's all about, but it happens a lot. Like lately, it's died down, but for the first like year
First
or
couple
so,
months. Yeah.
it was like I would just freak out over the weirdest little things, like just a little light ray next to me, and I'd jump.
We both
And
did.
I would think
Like
it was right
it
next
was
to
a
me.
constant thing and it was like on the opposite side.
It's weird though. It freaked me out. It's been freaking me out, and I'm like, wow, you know what? Like maybe I was just fighting something, and I've just been fighting ever since. Who knows?
This conversation is making me very uncomfortable. I would say that's a reaction to what you experienced. I think whenever you were in the river, something ran up on you that was very scary all of a sudden. And your mind subconsciously remembers that event, but you don't. So you're basically having PTSD from the event. Whether that was an entity of some kind or a craft of some kind, or I don't know. But that is definitely, I mean, what you're describing is like PTSD of a very specific event.
Yeah, it feels weird. It's definitely weird, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now thinking about it like that, which is scary to think about because we're always like chalking up. Like, we talk about it like it could be an abduction, but we're always like, maybe it was just. But that's a lot of string of events. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So
Because I've experienced missing time once, and it was nothing like that. It was actually with that same cousin that I was talking about earlier. And we were coming home from a Bigfoot event, one of the very first ones I ever went on. There was this town down in Texas, and on the way down to where we were going, I remember driving through the town very specifically. It's all new. And like back then we didn't have GPS or anything. So like I'm paying attention to the road and the map, and okay, up here we got to, turn right. And then we go by this university and we turn left, and we go down this, this old brick road in the old part of downtown and everything. And then it connects with the loop and we leave out of town. So on the way back, trying to remember that whole path to get back home. And it's the middle of the day. Okay. It's not storming. There's nothing crazy. We're coming back and we turn on that old brick road that I was talking about. And we're headed towards the university where I'm going to now have to turn right. And I'm just remembering my path. And we were talking. Nothing weird happened. And then all of a sudden it's 30 minutes later and we're out of Tyler on the opposite side. Ooh. And we were just like looking at one another. And it's like, what just happened? Where did Tyler go? Like, neither one of us remember driving through the and like we're talking, it's multiple stoplights and intersections, and like it's a small city that we're having to drive through, and it was just gone. It never happened, and we're just on the other side, and it's literally 30 minutes later, and we have no explanation for it.
Wow,
it's so freaky. It's like you're going through these dangerous stoplights, and it's like you have no memory. Yeah, that's a freaky thing. And we've heard this from other people too. This is pretty common. So yeah, I don't know what that is, if it is alien related or not, but it's interesting.
Where can everybody find the Supernatural Station podcast? I assume it's everywhere that they can find Bigfoot Crossroads, so it should be pretty easy.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, all the platforms were there. We're starting to get heavier in the YouTube game, so right now we're not super active there, but we do post some stuff. That's going to change fairly soon. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram pretty heavy. If you want to message us, a good place to reach us is Instagram, and our email, supernaturalstation5@gmail.com. But yeah, find us wherever you like to listen. I know some people have preferences on Spotify or Apple or whatever, but
yeah,
we're there.
You do have to search Supernatural Station podcast. You have to put podcast in it in order to have it pop right up. I don't know what's up with that, but we'll get to the bottom of that. But yeah, I do the TikTok. Roman does a lot of the Instagram, and then we do a lot of the YouTube stuff together, trying to do so. I mean, and it's cool because it's fresh in different places, so we do different things.
And you guys cover a range of all supernatural type stuff and interviews and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's off the table as far as we're concerned, and we hope people reach out if they have something they want to talk about with us. We'd love to have them on our show. And yeah, I mean, we're just a couple of guys asking questions and hoping that our platform is comfortable enough for people to want to share. And we want to mimic you, Matt. We want to be like a guy who is trustworthy. We want to be trustworthy and do our best to let people know that we believe them and that this is a safe space for them for the most part.
And that's why we don't mind sharing our stories, because, man, this world's weird. It's stranger than you can ever imagine, and it keeps getting weirder.
If you've had your own encounter with Bigfoot or something else you can't explain and you'd like to share your story on the podcast, email me at bigfootcrossroads@gmail.com. Check out the website, bigfootcrossroads.com. You can find links to social media, past episodes, merchandise, everything you need all in one place. And until next time, remember, there's something in the woods.